It would be a mandatory computer class. One that would, it could be something as minimal as a semester-long class or the full year that we're doing right now. But the kids need to understand these basics. I mean, we're in a world where before I was a teacher, I worked in advertising and I worked in marketing. And my 3 programs I used were PowerPoint, Excel, and email. Every day, those are the 3 that I used. And they didn't have time to teach it to you. You had to learn how to use it. And if you didn't have a job. So that's the hardest challenge, is to try to figure out how do we get this encapsulated into the program. A lot of people in the district believe that math will encapsulate or incorporate, Excel, Word will get incorporated into English, science will do something else, but with all the standards that are set forth by UC and CSU right now, who's got the time to add to their curriculum?
I would like the curriculum to change so it is more inquiry-based. I would like to present the kids with the topic and have them come up with a few key questions and then have them research those and then put it into a visual, more of a visual presentation that they can share with the class. So it could be use of the computer or a model or a picture of their model that they could put into the computer and then share that with the students, because I just think that they're more creative and they learn more and they're more interested in what they're learning when they can have more ownership of their learning.
The curriculum would get rid of the tests in 2nd grade. We're having a standardized test. It takes such, I continue to teach social studies and science and use my technology, but I do have to get to a certain point with test-taking skills and the format of the test. Even though I'm very conceptually based, kids have little chopped up questions that they have to learn how to deal with on the standardized test, so that takes valuable time away.
My project for myself over the summer is to learn how to use the green screen and create movies with my class. I would definitely like to know more about different websites, different programs. I feel most of the stuff I've had to learn by myself because there's not really that much available. But even using digital photography in the classroom, video cameras, it's a huge interest for me. I try to assign the kids an assignment a week for technology, but I have to make all those up myself, and I enjoy doing it, and I know the kids are very excited about getting their work done so they can get to that. And once they have finished their work, they go pick up their assignment and they come right to the computers, and they're really excited about their product.
I've already taken CTAP 1 and 2, and I've done PowerPoint. My kids, I have a PowerPoint show on the laptops where kids are, reading through this thing on immigration and history, and I just always looking for other things to do with digital cameras and new programs for writing. It's really difficult to fit in blogging and talk groups and everything like that for 2nd grade. So, I just like to keep myself updated in technology. I've actually worked for the Butte County Office of Education, who offers technology, and I've provided a lot of staff development in CLearn and some of the software through the California State Department. It's already been reviewed.
My credential program, we had a course that was integrated through all of our courses are together. We're in a small cohort taught by the same 2 teachers, and so within our program they did a few lessons, a few seminars on technology where they taught us about making our own websites. And so I have a professional website that I built and that I use for professional development. That is actually going to be a really good tool to get me hired, as well as when I am a teacher, it'll be nice to have a teacher website that the parents and students can interact with at their convenience at home or wherever they might be. Additionally, we had lessons on PowerPoint and really just a lot of research on the internet, using the internet as a tool to help build our knowledge base and for our students to do research as well.
Always asking how are students finding a way in to my class. So I want lots of ways for them to find their way in, whether it's face-to-face or handing in a hard copy, or sometimes it's these online technologies. And then the other thing I'm trying to do with social media sites is to build community amongst students, particularly in a big jumbo class. It's sometimes a way for students to get to know each other when there's such a large number. So for me, usually technology in the classroom means using some sort of social media to do that as kind of a back channel to the class. But I also have them bring laptops particularly in my first year writing class, they bring their laptops every time, and we produce our texts and post our texts and use Vista and Twitter and all these things while we're in class together. And you have to be really explicit. I hear teachers complain, for example, that, they're all just on Facebook. Well, you have to be explicit about why you're using the technology, what its purpose is going to serve, and sometimes you have to close it. Sometimes you have to close the screen and do something, face-to-face. But as long as I think you're explicit with them about norms and routines and purposes for using it, I haven't ever had a problem with student. And I also would argue that we're all adults, and occasionally I'm perfectly capable of checking email and Facebook at the same time that I'm doing something else, and they can do that.
We do focus on the real estate industry, but I've always said that we could teach any industry, a plumber, I guess a teacher, all of these things, because they're very relevant when it comes to communicating or educating people that you're trying to connect with about what you do. So a teacher for sure could learn how to use Facebook more effectively to set up maybe a fan page for their class, or how to use YouTube more effectively to give some tutorials on some of the things that they're training on. So absolutely, a lot of the stuff we're training is very applicable to any industry, especially the education one.
I think just anytime students are reading and looking at information and not just using the computer for entertainment purposes, that's the big thing that is kind of a misconception. Adults think that kids are great with computers, and they are good with certain things, but a lot of times it's just being used for entertainment purposes. And so anytime we're asking kids to read, look up information, work through problem-solving things, writing resumes, cover letters, anything like that, I think is going to help literacy, because they're still writing, they're still reading, and they still have to think about the processes that are involved with all those applications.
All right, so adding the technology into the classroom now, whether it's the professors using it or even the students taking advantage of it, the biggest value is that they get to become comfortable with the technologies of today that allow them to constantly be excited about the new things that are happening. If you take what I do for a living, we're trying to help people in their 40s and 50s and even 60s catch up to using so many tools that are so relevant to what their clients are expecting them to use, whether it's Facebook, whether it's even email or blogging or having a good website. And there's so much that they don't know how to do, and they're spending good money, they're investing an enormous amount of time, and they're taking a lot of their energy to try to catch up. And I know that one of the reasons that I'm good at this stuff is that as a kid, I had a lot of interest in technology. I went to school in an area where we had computer labs. And even though that we were a little behind, what you guys experience now, it was always very interesting to me. So I was able to build a foundation of things that, had an excitement of what's coming next. And I was always excited to learn that stuff. So bringing that into the classroom now, I believe will give the kids an opportunity to build a foundation of information, a foundation of experience, and then apply all that as they continue to grow through their education, so that when they are emptied out into the workforce and there's no one there to hold their hand, they have a good amount of knowledge and experience using the tools that are going to be relevant, that's going to keep them competitive in the workplace.
I think that the technology piece is really important, and I have no idea why they took it out of the high schools, except they aren't allowing all the students to take technology anymore, because they're just inundating them with test taking and reading and math. But the 21st century is really a science and technology century, and the kids are very interested in electronics and computers, and that's the way of the future. And I just think we're doing them a huge disservice by belittling the technology of our society and not using it more in our classes and spending more money on it.
Schools have been operating in more or less of the same way for the past few hundred years, but as our society advances, we must take steps into advancing our classrooms as well. Bringing something new into the classroom can be very scary at first, especially if we lack the knowledge of how to use it properly. But if we do it as a collective whole, the process can be very beneficial for our students. We still may have a long way to go, but hopefully this presentation has lifted some of your doubts and has inspired you to look farther into the depths of how using computers in the classroom can enhance your reading and writing experiences for your students.